So, Pierre Polyev went on Joe Rogan, and I think he came off as very moderate. I don't think he was really like Pierre Polyev eating that apple, destroying the reporter Pierre Polyev, but it came off as a good first impression for like his first visit on Joe Rogan. I think that then the next election coming up, he should go back on there and he should go full force because he was holding back, he was holding his punches, and I don't see Mark Carney holding his punches, and I'm gonna show you why I think that with another clip coming in. But we're also going to get into how Pierre Polyev was presenting himself in New York, all the stuff he was talking about with our natural resources. And then we're also going to look into something that happened in America with ICE. They picked up a 7-year-old autistic girl. I saw something very strange when CTV reported it. I'm going to let you guys know what that is. And then there's this one thing very strange. A cop, I saw this on X, a cop was fired for investigating something. So we're going to look into that too and see what's going on with that. And with that being said, let's get into it. So this is Mark Carney on the Jon Stewart show. This is before the election, and I understand this is before he was officially running for prime minister. But the thing about it is, we know that he's about to announce. He knows that he's about to announce that he's going to be running for prime minister. This is literally 3 days before, and this is how he talks about Pierre Polyev. So I think it's very telling. Hey guys, so it was copyrighted content, the video that I was gonna put in here, and I got a strike for it. So I'm just gonna tell you basically what the clip was. It was Mark Carney and it was Jon Stewart on the Daily Show, and basically Mark Carney and Jon Stewart were just laughing, bashing Pierre Polyev. They get into COVID, so I want to put this COVID part in here, and I'm gonna do a reaction to it, and then after we'll just get back to the original video. Sorry about that. I'm sorry, pushed out of a job by who? The government, and they pushed you out of a job for literally a virus that wouldn't kill most people. Probably if you're under the age of 50, you're good, you're safe. And then they basically destroyed all of our lives by making sure that we're unemployed. And then they printed a huge amount of money, put it and gave it to all of us. And what did that happen to that money? It was consolidated into assets. It went to rich people. It went to people that already had assets. And all of the rich people got richer and all the poor people got poorer, because when you print money and you add more of that money to the market, well, what happens to the dollars that are already there? They get devalued. So they literally made the rich richer and the poor poorer, and you're saying that that's a bad thing. I mean, that's a good thing. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I know that, hindsight is 2020, but like what happened during COVID was completely ridiculous. And just L. Jon Stewart. And then this is Pierre Polyev talking about Mark Carney in New York recently. This is how he talks about Mark Carney on foreign soil.
So we heard Prime Minister Carney recently lay out a vision and a partnership with China. So when you think about, the strains in the relationship of the United States, and I think that's partly why he did that. What are the differences that you can think about in trade between China and, say, the United States?
Well, I'm not going to disparage my prime minister on foreign turf, so I won't counter his position here. There'll be plenty of time for that in the House of Commons. Please tune in at 2:15 Monday through Thursday for question period, and we'll try to put on a good show. So have your popcorn ready.
See how he can even still be funny without being super disrespectful? I mean, it's kind of crazy how the left still tries to paint this guy as like this like super mean guy, and he's like Trump and stuff. Is like, this guy? I would go harder in the paint than this guy. I'm meaner than Pierre Polyev. If I was Pierre Polyev, I would not have all of this like, oh, I'm not going to disrespect Mark Carney. I would be like, bro, Mark Carney is ruining Canada. And, it is what it is, but I'm going to try to bite back or something like that. He's better than me. So this whole idea that they're painting Pierre Polyev to be this terrible guy, he has a picture of him smiling there. He's like, oh, this guy's like a villain from Karate Kid. What? What are you talking about? This is how the brainwashing works, right? You get these famous people to go online and bash these politicians so that they have this conception of who the politician is without the person even looking into it. Most of these people, when I talk to like leftists, they don't actually watch Pierre Polyev and see how he talks and how he acts. They listen to clips, or they have like a third person view of how somebody else sees him. It's completely ridiculous. And especially in this clip I'm about to show you, Pierre Polyev really is for the people, in my opinion, based on this experience that he talks about with Ben Mulroney.
Whenever you say Brian Mulroney's name, a rush of memories come to mind, and many of the stories that he would share about his fond memories he would share of his visits to the United States of America, where he had many friends. And in fact, one of his favorite stories was when he and his finance minister were out dining just outside of Washington after a day of long diplomatic meetings. And they sat down at the dinner table, and the bread came, and then the waiter walked over with the butter, and he handed them each just one stick of butter. And there he was with his finance minister, who said, "Sir, is it possible for me to have another stick of butter?" And he said, "No, I'm under very strict orders. It's hard times. Everyone gets a single stick of butter." And Brian Mulroney said, "Well, do you know who we are? I'm the Prime Minister of Canada, and this is my finance minister. He decides who gets the money." And the waiter said, "Well, I'm the waiter, and I decide who gets the butter." And it was as simple as that, and a good reminder of who's really in charge in this country and in our shared continent, the people who do the work on the ground.
You know, as much as maybe I'm a cornball and I just love dad jokes, Pierre's dad jokes, it just cracks me up every single time. But I love his quotes too. So he has this quote I'm about to show you with Robert Kennedy. And I think it completely nails how we should treat China and how we should treat America going forward. That Carney obviously is going the complete opposite direction and it's going to ruin us, man.
You know, as President Kennedy said, President Kennedy addressed our parliament, and he said, "Geography made us neighbors.
Facts.
History made us friends. Economics made us partners, and necessity made us allies. Those whom nature hath so joined together, let no man put asunder." So what has then gone wrong if the relationship is so solid and practical? Well, I think we have to go backwards in time to see how we got here. Just 10 years after the power of Western capitalism had buried rusted-out Soviet communism, we provided a new opening for an authoritarian powerhouse to quietly and rapidly sneak up on us. Beijing's communist regime was able to pursue economic enrichment without the corresponding political liberalization that the West had expected. And then one day, the West woke up, and we found that much of our industrial heartlands had been hollowed out. Regions were collapsing from job outsourcing. Our economies were reliant on a country that was, at best, a serious rival, and at worst, a hostile threat. Now, I seek no fight with China or its people, who constitute a brilliant and extraordinary civilization. In fact, if we're being honest with ourselves, China and its people have been outworking, outsmarting, and out-hustling us in the West for the last 30 years.
Facts. Chinese people, as much as they're sending all these spies to our country and ruining it, and police officers, police stations, and going on. I'm not gonna lie, they are hard workers. I love Chinese restaurants. I love Chinese establishments and businesses. They are elite, but we need to keep in mind the threat that's coming out of China. 100%.
This is a country that went from having 80% of its people living on less than $1 a day to being the second biggest economy in the world in 50 years. It has never happened. But China's rise has come at a serious cost to political and economic freedom in the world. And too often, Western countries and corporate interests have enabled it, sometimes naively, sometimes cynically. We, Canada and the United States, cannot afford to continue to ignore the ways in which Beijing's communist regime has used its growing economic power to threaten our vital interests. President Trump's efforts to prepare and protect the United States from this growing challenger, which is a regime, by the way, that our own Prime Minister in Canada called the single biggest threat to Canada, is fully founded. Canada, however, should be seen as a friend and not a foe in that effort.
Yeah, that's kind of my issue with Trump is like, if you saw China is stealing all of your jobs, why are you punishing the rest of us for it? Like, what's going on? Bro, just target China. Leave us alone. Leave us out of it. Bro, get rid of them tariffs. Yeah, but this is the thing. I think Pierre's understanding of our natural resources are so it's so clean and it's so cut and it's so precise because we should be rich. There's no reason why gas prices in Canada should ever go to 171 a liter. Like that's completely insane. So if we just like free up our market, please, like can we just get rid of this Carney guy? He's not freeing up the market. He just says he's doing it and he never does it. Can we just get Pierre in so he can actually free the market? Look at the natural resources that we have. Like this is insane.
We have the materials of modern warfare. For example, Canada produces 10 of the 12 NATO-defined defense critical minerals that are going to be necessary to fight a future war. Aluminum that strengthens aircraft and armored vehicles. Gallium that powers semiconductors and radar systems. Germanium, which enables night vision technology. Graphite is essential for batteries. We also have lithium for the same purpose. Tungsten goes into armor-piercing ammunition and also into medical imaging equipment. Cobalt brings heat-resistant alloys that you put in your fighter jets so that they can operate under incredible stress. Canada is actually the global producer of more than 60 minerals and metals and holds the largest deposits of high-grade uranium, which you will need for nuclear power and other uses. And of course, we have the biggest supply of potash, which is one of the 3 top ingredients for fertilizer so that you can eat. No modern economy or military functions without secure energy and minerals. And that's why I had proposed that Canada establish a strategic minerals and energy reserve.
Please, we should be a goddamn powerhouse.
That would be available to our tariff-free allies, giving preferred access to those countries that work with us. It will give us increased leverage in these forthcoming negotiations, and it will keep both of our countries secure if, God forbid, we ever have to fight a common enemy. Access to this reserve could be a key part of the renewed USMCA following this summer's review. The challenge is not that other countries won't let our products in, it's that we have a hard time getting them out. Give you one example, or 2 examples very quickly. One new pipeline to Canada's west coast, would allow for more overseas exports than we currently do all year with China.
AKA, all we would need to do is approve one pipeline and we could literally kiss our relationship with China goodbye. Can we just please do it?
So one pipeline would be more economically important than our entire export to the US, to China. I'll give you another example. I was just in North Germany the other day. They were relying almost exclusively on the Russians for their gas. Russia invaded Ukraine in February of 2022. By May, they had a permit for a brand new import terminal.
Wow.
By Christmas of that year, they had completed that terminal and were accepting their first shipments. 95% of that natural gas comes from the United States of America, even though Canada has half the shipping time to Europe, and it's 25% cheaper to liquefy in Canada because of our cold weather doing a lot of the work for us. Why were the ships that I looked out at sea and saw bringing the gas in, why was that coming from the US Gulf Coast, from Louisiana and Texas, and not from Atlantic Canada? Because we don't have any LNG plants in Atlantic Canada today. And we don't have them because we don't have the permits. So our biggest obstacle to diversifying trade are restrictions we impose on ourselves. But the good news is we can remove those restrictions and we can reach the world with our abundant resources. Please. One word, leverage. We need leverage.
See, this is a really important part because everybody wants to, moan about how Trump will never do a deal. Everyone on the left, they're like, oh, Trump's never going to do a deal. It's cooked for us. How do we get a deal with Trump? Leverage, please. Like Pierre Poilievre is about to parse it out, but it's leverage. We have all of these natural resources and we have all of this power to create all of this. We have all of the natural resources that we need in order to build these defensive weapons. And we could really just go to Trump and go, hey, art of the deal. If you read Trump's book, hey, I have all of this stuff. I have all of this leverage. and go into negotiation like that. But right now we're going to negotiation weak. We do not have the leverage because we are not freeing our market. We are not allowing our natural resources to get out of the ground and make us money. We are just literally going more and more into poverty. I do not understand.
In these negotiations. And the president said so himself in his book, The Art of the Deal. The most important thing in trade, in a negotiation, is leverage. We need to use the leverage we have in Canada. We are your second biggest customer. We are your biggest external supplier of energy and raw materials. We have 10 of the 12 NATO-defined defense minerals that are necessary for national security in the 21st century. We are responsible for the biggest share of airspace, water, and land in the entire hemisphere, which means that we are vital to the national security of the United States, and we are about to carry out the biggest single military buildup in our country's history, which will mean lots of procurement opportunities for firms in partner countries. I want to bundle all of that up as in one word and say that is our leverage. We can make America more affordable, safer, and richer if we have tariff-free trade between our two separate countries.
I think that's a pretty good deal. I think that's a really good deal. Maybe we should get Mark Carney to do it. Oh, wait, he's a WEF puppet that believes in keeping 80% of our oil in the ground and just wants to, I don't know, tax us into poverty. So let's look at, I looked at this website that basically showed all the natural gas that we have. It's crazy. So natural gas meets approximately 40% of Canada's energy needs. Canada is the 5th largest producer of natural gas. Canadians are connected by almost 600,000 kilometers of pipeline across 8 provinces and 1 territory. Canada's natural gas resource base is 1,368 trillion cubic feet. And that's the equivalent to being able to power our entire country for 200 years just off of the technology that we already have. Imagine when we have better technology. Imagine when we can get natural gas from the air using I forgot what it was called, but the carbon processing thing where they take the carbon out of the air and they put it back into the ground. What if that's just a way for us to recycle our natural gas? And it's just like, we should have way more customers. We should have way more abundance. It's completely insane. But let's get into Pierre on Rogan. I know everyone's been waiting for that. So sorry, guys. We're going to get into it. So a couple things about what Pierre said on Rogan. First of all, he talks about MAID. And I know Kelsey Sharon is going to hate this. Because Pierre basically says like, oh, well, he has a kind of moderate view on MAID, which, to be fair, I've seen from a lot of conservatives, surprisingly. My videos on MAID on social media don't do that well, because I feel like I'm the only conservative that thinks that, we shouldn't give the government the power to, eliminate us, right? Like, even if you're going and you're consenting. That's just my personal view. I'm a Christian, so I'm also bringing my Christianity and morality into it. But a lot of conservatives are pretty moderate on it, and they say, you know what? I think it's okay. MAID is okay as long as it's in the confinement of, the person's probably going to pass away anyway. They have a chronic disease. They're in a lot of pain. They're suffering. And a lot of conservatives have actually used MAID. Me personally, I don't think I'll ever use it. I don't think I'll ever tell anyone to use it. I'm not going to tell people. I think I like what Alberta is doing with it, where they're limiting it to, foreseeable death and stuff like that. But MAID, he's pretty moderate on it. And then he also talks about Alberta Seperation. A lot of Alberta separatists are not going to like what he said. But let's be, if I'm being honest, actually I have the clip here. So let's just see what he said about Alberta Separation.
So it's like,
there's a lot of great hunting. I don't hunt myself, but there's a ton of great hunting. A lot of hunters in Alberta.
Oh yeah. Well, there's talk about Alberta separating.
That won't happen.
What was that about?
It won't happen. Some people are frustrated, but they, there's some legitimate frustrations. But at the end of the day, Canada's going to be united. And Albertans, I'm born and raised Alberta. And Albertans are seriously patriotic.
Very patriotic.
Yeah, they're great people, hardworking.
Some of the nicest people you ever
They
run
are
across.
Great people in
Hardy.
Alberta. They are hardy people.
It's cold up there.
Yeah, so Pierre Poilievre basically says that he doesn't think it's going to happen. I don't think he doesn't seem like he supports it. To be fair, it doesn't look like it's going to happen necessarily in terms of like likelihood, but it's definitely causing a huge wave. There's a huge demand for it. And we all know why people don't want to do, like, if Pierre won the election, then there would be no talk of Alberta separation, because then Alberta would be able to get richer by enriching their country with their natural resources. Maybe they can slow down on all these transfer payments, but he lost. So what I need from him, if he's going to say this on podcast, is you need to win the next election. I'll do whatever I need to do to help you win the next election, as long as you keep on the path that you're going on and keep saying what needs to be said. And this part of Joe Rogan's podcast is what I really want to key in on, because it talks about how much governments are in our way and in our lives. And this is the only politician I'm hearing saying that we should get the government out of our lives and out of our faces. So
too many governments in the Western world have gone way too bossy. They're just looking for every excuse to boss people around. And that's what we have to push back again. And it's, EV mandates, or, excessive control of the internet, or the massive increase in the cost of government, which is really like appropriating the private voluntary economy into the coercive government economy. That's what we're seeing across Europe, in the UK, parts of the United States, as well as back home. So we need to reverse that trend and get people back in charge of their lives.
yeah, so you need to win, because you cannot just come up in here, give us all this hope, and then lose. Matter of fact, if you look at happiness right now, and this is very telling, the older you are in Canada, the more likely you are to be happy, and the younger you are, the less likely you are to be happy. So this is a report. Daniel Foch, I hope I'm saying his last name properly, he posted this on Instagram. Says young Canadians keep getting more miserable, old Canadians get happier. Data from World Happiness Report reports. And if you see this line, this blue line here, oh my God. I mean, the older you are, the happier you are here, right? And then if you're under 30, it's completely crashing. It's been doing this since 2012, it looks like 2013, 2014. The older you are, the happier you are. I mean, how are we going to have a sustainable country if everyone is just sad all the time? And rightfully so. I mean, if you are in your 30s or your early 20s right now, or your late 20s, you are completely miserable because you feel like there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, the world is just kind of happening to you, and there's nothing you can really do to fix anything. That's how my generation feels. That's how a lot of people feel. So I just wanted to turn everyone's attention to this story. It's something that I found very odd in this story. So I'm going to play the clip. I think it's CTV that reports this. Yeah, CTV that reports this. A little autistic girl was picked up by ICE in America. And I just want to watch very carefully.
No place to be is the Texas detention center known as Ursula, since renovated, but once known for holding children in cages. Edward Warner says his Canadian wife, Tanya Warner, and her daughter have been there since Saturday. Ayla Lucas has autism and is just 7 years old.
It's overcrowded, very loud, and they're just very stressed out right now.
The family lives less than 4 hours from the Mexican border. Edward says on Saturday they were coming home from a baby shower further south in Texas and, as they've done before, drove through a border checkpoint and showed ID when something went wrong.
They took her in saying that they need to fingerprint her to get more information, and she never came back out.
Warner provided CTV News this Social Security document that shows Tanya's citizenship status as a lawful alien with the right to work. Tanya and Ayla are in the process of immigrating from BC. They've lived in Texas about 5 years.
The priority is the trauma experienced by the 7-year-old in detention.
This immigration lawyer says PTSD after time in detention is not uncommon, nor is it uncommon for entire families to be detained for days or even months until their cases are sorted.
If you're Canadian in status with the right paperwork, you're still in jeopardy.
Meanwhile, Edward is doing everything.
So this guy is, I don't know about that. Watch this.
Can, using a GoFundMe page to help hire a lawyer and still trying to understand what happened. All he knows is officers suggested there was a problem with a document number.
Everybody definitely go check out that GoFundMe. If you are able to contribute, then please help them out. And this is nothing to say about the family. This is a horrible situation, but I want you to see what CTV does. Look at this.
It's horrifying. I mean, it's not somewhere you want your family to be at, and it's not something anybody should have to really go through.
CTV News reached out to ICE and the Department of Homeland Security to ask about this case and why a 7-year-old is still in detention. The government acknowledged our request and even asked for some follow-up information about the pair, but didn't answer our questions by deadline.
Yeah, so I found it really strange. So all the leftists that are reporting about what's going on with this case, they use these photos and these videos of the detention center that are not so the detention center went through a renovation recently. I think it was 2020, and now in 2022 they finished the renovation, so the detention center looks really different. It actually looks like, obviously it's still a detention center, but look at how the detention center looks now, because they're making it seem like it's some crazy looking place. Let's take a look at this. So this is how the detention center looks now. So as you can see, it doesn't like, so before they had the people in cages. Now it looks a lot different. It looks obviously it's still a detention center, but you know, they have some computers, they have a waiting area. Still looks like a detention center, obviously. But it's not like it's you know, have the people in cages sitting on the ground and in these like strange with these strange bedding. It looks like a pretty well renovated detention center. So, you know, as much as it's like, guys, we need to understand that these people are trying to show us a different reality. So all the leftists posting about this, they want to make it seem like this is some crazy looking place. It's a pretty normal place. I'm sure the family is going to get this sorted out. You know, contribute to the GoFundMe as much as you can, but I don't know, man. They're trying to convince us that, you know, ICE is this crazy thing, and this is like a 99.9% never going to happen to you. This is a very rare case. This is a video of basically a cop noticed that there was a high number of infant mortality, so a high number of children after birth just dying, and she wanted to investigate it, and then she was apparently fired for this. And she noticed that there's a tie-in between the infant mortality and the vaccine. So I have not looked too far into this, but if this is true, this is insane. I think everyone should be paying attention to this right now.
It was January 2022 when a colleague of mine in the unit came to me saying, something's up. We've had a doubling or tripling of baby deaths in the last year.
Doubling or tripling?
And that's what got my curiosity piqued.
Their own government told us a medical treatment was safe, and it killed babies.
I have lost all faith that Health Canada is looking out genuinely for the best interests of Canadians.
Doctors made extra money to push vaccines, and they were given a billing code to do it. I've pulled all the billing codes.
They've purchased the vaccine that hasn't been approved. They've distributed it to the provinces, so the second it's approved, we can start jabbing ourselves with it. We can start jabbing pregnant mothers with it.
Why did we have to get these vaccinations? Like, why was this something that we had to do?
Good
You
question.
go to the hospital, you expect to have a baby, and you expect to go home. And then you don't.
I would suspect that there was criminal negligence on part of the government and the public health officials.
It is highly recommended that pregnant women get their vaccine as soon as possible.
They pushed on with this narrative to everybody, including pregnant and breastfeeding women, that the mRNA shots were safe and effective.
They had wiretapped her phone. They had harassed her. They had charged her. They didn't allow any expert witnesses to testify.
Our Canadian babies died, and the police are trying to cover it up to the point of stopping detectives.
Sorry, let's just look at that real quick. Says an analysis of internal documents found 44% of pregnant women who participated in the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine trials suffered miscarriages. And the source is from Pfizer.
Cover it up to the point of stopping Detective Helen Grace from testifying about it.
The dominant individuals
keep the subordinates in their place by constant aggression.
If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
It started off with CBC running a story to implicate her and to paint her with a brush that looks uncomplimentary to the public.
Canada has to shift their understanding of what the CBC is. It is a state broadcaster pushing the agenda of the Liberal government of Canada.
This is the most significant matter affecting our children today from a health perspective, and they're still not investigated.
Everything emanates outward from this case, involving law enforcement, the judicial system, the pharmaceutical industry, our health agencies, how they work together, how they censored information. It all ties together to this one case, and that's what makes it so dangerous.
Scary stuff. Sorry to end on such a scary note. What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about Pierre going on Rogan? Comment down below. What do you guys think about how he was presenting himself in terms of like a moderate kind of way and less like aggressive, like when he was eating that apple, that interview? How you guys feel about Carney? Like what do you guys think about all these topics that we covered today? Link them down below. What do you guys think about ICE? Do you guys think that this was a one-off situation with this little girl, or do you guys think that this is going to be like a really reoccurring thing? I don't think I think it's a one-off situation. But anyways, comment down below. I'll be reading all of the comments, every single comment, replying when I can. And subscribe, like, and share this video with anybody of your friends or family or whatever. Show them what's going on. I want to go to the deeper levels of what's going on in Canada. I want to get to the deepest issues and as deep as possible. And thank you for joining. It's Joseph Bourne once again. Have a good day.